One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God responsively. One can understand me, as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me, by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. Report. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and his plenary portions cannot be understood by mental speculation, nor by the non-devotees. If anybody wants to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has to take the pure devotional service under the guidance of a pure devotee. Otherwise, the truth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead will always be hidden. As already stated in the Bhagavad Gita 7.25, Naham prakasha sarvasya prakasha sarvasya. He is not revealed to anyone, nor can anyone understand God simply by erudite scholarship or mental speculation. Only one who is actually engaged in Krishna consciousness and devotional service can understand what Krishna is. University degrees are not helpful. Maybe I'll just speak a little bit and then I'll go to the next. Before I speak, I should say, Amagyanatimirandasya janagadasalakayam shakti-smiritam yena asmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manamistam Shapitam Jena Bhutale Sayam Rupakara Maya Dadatrisha Parantika Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we want to thank Srila Prabhupada for giving us this nice, clear explanation of this verse. If we examine other commentators, we see that they don't bring us to this point. Although the verse is very clear, just look at the Sanskrit. Bhaktya, by pure devotional service, mam, me, avijanati, one can know. Yavan, as much as. In other words, we can know as much as the Lord is kindly agrees to reveal to us. Not that we can know Him in full, or otherwise we'd be God. Even He doesn't know Himself in full because He's always expanding. So we can know Him as much as our capacity by His mercy. Now, those who are not devotees, they can also know God to some degree, just like the Mayavadis. They can know some aspect of God, and even the Karmis, they can know some features of the Lord's energy, this material world. They can study one aspect of it a little bit, and they, claim to be very big scientists and scholars and so on. Of course, how much they know is very tiny compared to how much is to be known. Especially, the material world is endlessly mutable. But they're allowed to know something according to their desire. But only the devotee will know the Lord, you can say, up to his full capacity. Therefore, there's a nice verse in the Bhagavatam which mentions that supersedity. If we want to really satisfy the self in the full capacity of our satisfaction, then only by devotion can we get that full satisfaction. Otherwise, we'll get some partial satisfaction. We may learn how to become very, you can say, expert at manipulating material energy with our learning or whatever, but we won't get the full satisfaction. Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam, the full satisfaction that we're hankering for will escape us unless we turn to the Lord. And that also, as much as we're qualified for. In other words, it's just like the cup. This cup can't hold the ocean. It can hold one cup of water. So we have a capacity. The others, we are tiny particles of the Lord. So like expansion of the Lord. They know the power of the Lord more, much more. People think, oh, in Hinduism you have many gods, but really there's one God, but he has expansions. Rama, Nishinga, Varaha, Matsya, and they have certain capacities, opulences, that they know, you can say they're full, more than us. We can't be that full. We're the jiva. But we can be full up to a certain limit. And that can only come by the well-wishing of the Lord. And that's very reasonable also, because how can we expect to know God unless He agrees to reveal Himself to us? The other method of empiric research, or trying to manipulate the energy and stuff, that is, how can that bring us to the creator of the energy? So therefore, most of those philosophers, to one degree or another, are atheistic. Because if they were really theistic, then they would take this verse. This is a common thing. It's not just only the Bhagavad Gita speaking this. Lord Jesus is saying the same thing. Even Muhammad is saying, yeah, you have to surrender. What is it? Islam means to surrender to God. So this is the real formula. It's a non-sectarian formula. Unfortunately, people bring it into a sectarian conception, and therefore they do a disservice to the Lord. The Lord is not pleased by that kind of misinterpretation. Actually, God is in everyone's heart. He's a friend of everyone. He wants everyone to turn to Him. So those who are claiming monopoly, they can't be pleasing to the Lord in the full extent. Okay? So we're at the second paragraph. One who is fully conversant with Krishna's science, with the Krishna science, becomes eligible to enter into the spiritual kingdom, the abode of Krishna. Becoming Brahman does not mean that one loses his identity. Devotional service is there as long as devotional service exists, and as long as devotional service exists, there must be God, the devotee, in the process of devotional service. You see, the Mayavadis, they think they want to eliminate all variety. They want to merge into the oneness. And then there's no, these three things are no longer there. But Prabhupada is making the point that they're actually eternally existing. What is eternally existing? The Lord, His devotee, and the process of devotional service. Nitya Yukta Upashate. These things go on. They don't stop at any time. Such knowledge is never vanquished, even after liberation. Liberation involves getting free from the concept of material life. In spiritual life, the same distinction is there. The same individuality is there. But in pure Krishna consciousness. One should not mistakenly think that the word Vishate enters into me supports the monistic theory that one becomes homogeneous with the impersonal Brahma. No, Vishate means that one can enter into the abode of the Supreme Lord in one's individuality to engage in His association and render service unto Him. For instance, a green bird enters a green tree not to become one with the tree, but to enjoy the fruits of the tree. Impersonalists generally give the example of a river flowing into the ocean and merging. This may be a source of happiness for the impersonalist, but the personalist keeps his personal individuality like an aquatic in the ocean. We find so many living entities within the ocean if we go deep. Surface acquaintance with the ocean is not sufficient. One must have complete knowledge of the aquatics living in the ocean depths. Got any questions on the different conceptions, especially in Hinduism? I'm just reading a book on yoga. The same misconception is there. They want to bring us to the point of merging and losing our individuality, giving up our ego. They think ego is bad. And of course, generally, ego is bad. In the material world, ego means my and mine. Give me, give me. I want, like the child is crying. And it's causes a disturbance. But so their idea is that because of a disturbance from ego, let's eliminate ego. Something like if you have a headache, the best remedy is to cut off your head. Why not? We say no. Why not find out your real ego, your real identity? Engage in that capacity. And you should engage in that capacity. Then your individuality will remain. And that's reasonable also, because we were individuals yesterday, we're individuals today. Why should we imagine that we're going to lose our individuality? It's like a spiritual suicide. So I once challenged the big yogi, this, or what is he? Gyani. This Chinmayananda. I personally asked him in Hong Kong in 1974. I said to him, but that merging is like spiritual suicide. And he got very upset. He said, no, your wanting to stay separate is also a desire. So I didn't have a quick answer for him. But I said, yes, that's, afterwards I thought, yeah, it's a desire. We want to remain separate from the Lord, because so we can render service to the Lord. You want to be one with the Lord as you become God. We examine the two, which is more noble, you could say, which is a more advanced mentality. You want to be God or you want to serve God? From God's point of view, if you're God and you're thinking, okay, this person wants to be me and this person wants to serve me, so who am I going to give my mercy to more? Because there's some envy there. You want to be God. What is that? God is already God. How can you be God? And you're already part of God. There's no question of becoming. You're already part. But you're not the whole. And you can never become the whole. Just like the drop of water emerges in the whole water in the ocean. But still the capacity is the same. It's small. Given the same example, there's a cup of water. If I throw it in the ocean, let's say it merges in the ocean. But those water molecules that are there, they don't become the whole ocean. They may merge it, but they still remain small. So it's true, we are small. Mama Vamsa Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. We're the fragmented particle of God. We don't become God in full. Just like the sunlight is particle of the sun. It's nothing but God, but it's also different. So that they can't understand. How God can have diverse energies. But it's very reasonable. The sun has diverse energies. Why can't God have diverse energies? They want to make it all one. Because of his pure devotional service, a devotee can understand the transcendental qualities and the opulence of the Supreme Lord in truth. How can he understand? Because the Lord is happy to reveal to him out of love. He wants to show himself. As is stated in the 11th chapter, only by devotional service can one understand. The same is confirmed here. One can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by devotional service and enter into his kingdom. After attainment of the Brahmabhuta stage of freedom from material conceptions, devotional service begins by one's hearing about the Lord. When one hears about the Supreme Lord, automatically the Brahmabhuta stage develops, and material contamination, greediness, and lust for sense enjoyment disappear. As lust and desire disappear from the heart of a devotee, he becomes more attached to the service of the Lord. And by such attachment, he becomes free from the material contamination. In that stage of life, he can understand the Supreme Lord. This is the statement of Srimad Bhagavatam also. After liberation, the process of bhakti, or transcendental service, continues. The Vedanta Sutta 4.1.12 confirms this. Aparanayat tatarpihi drishtam. This means that after liberation, the process of devotional service continues. Srimad Bhagavatam, real devotional liberation is defined as the reinstatement of the living entity in his own identity, his own constitutional position. The constitutional position is already explained. Every living entity is a part and parcel, fragmented portion of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, his constitutional position is to serve. After liberation, the service is never stopped. Actually, liberation is getting free from misconceptions of life. So this is the process that will bring us to the full satisfaction. We want to be happy. Just like our Sanjay was saying yesterday about Our motive should be, we want to be happy, which is good. We want to be happy. But we're saying the real happiness is on this side, on the devotional side. Otherwise, if we look in the world, sometimes we can see the dog is very happy. He's running after a stick, and the master is throwing the stick, and the dog is smiling, wagging his tail. He's happy. But that kind of happiness is not we're not after that kind of happiness. We want happiness which is uninterrupted and ever expanding happiness, something new, dynamic, always fresh. So that can only be in our relationship with the Lord. That's called rasa. When we develop our relationship with the Lord, it's very dynamic and fresh and new. Just like, who is it says? When he thinks of material pleasure compared to what he's getting in devotional service, then he feels no shame for that. Or Vilamangal Thakur, he says that mukti, the liberation, is standing with folded hands at my door, ready to serve me. So this is the position of the devotee. He's already attained liberation. He doesn't have to urge or anything. He's already liberated. Otherwise, how is it possible for him to play with the Lord? Just imagine, the cowherd boys, the gopis, they're having intimate exchange with the Lord. How can they not be of the same quality as the Lord? Just like we give the example, if you want to go into fire, if you have a fiery body, then you can enter into fire. So if you want to enter into the spiritual affairs of the world, of the Lord, you have to have a spiritual body. But when we tell that God has a spiritual body and that He has likes and dislikes, the general people become bewildered. How can God be a person? How can God have likes and dislikes? There must be something beyond that. Because my personality is so limited, so I think God must also have a limited personality. But no, He doesn't have a limited personality. All the contrary features of personality are reconciled in the person of the Lord. There's a nice description of that in the Nectar of Devotion. How He's Dhira Lalita and He's Dhira Datta. He has all the different qualities He can exhibit. Because He's not an ordinary person. And He can expand Himself. He can be in His apartment at the same time, be in everyone's heart at the same time, dancing with the gopis. So He's a person, but He's not a person like you and me. And this is also logical, because we're persons and we appreciate other persons. Why do we appreciate other persons? Because they have wonderful qualities. Just like Srila Prabhupada, so compassionate, so learned, so beautiful. He was very beautiful. So how can a person have those qualities and God doesn't have them? No, He has them, but He has them in full. And they're spiritual, they're not material. This is the proper understanding of the nature of God. You can ask anybody. This is you want to come to the point of finding out their philosophy, just that, what is your conception of God? And they'll give you some hazy idea, oh, He's on a throne, or He's impersonal, but nobody can give you a clear description like the devotees. Because the devotees are seeing God, therefore they can describe very carefully. Or God Himself comes and describes Himself. Or those who are associating with Him, they leave records. This is not mythology. This is real history. Krishna spoke, Bhagavad Gita. But if we want to understand that, then we have to become like Arjuna. We have to become the devotee of the Lord. And so we may hesitate because we think, oh, we're going to lose some advantage that we have. We're going to lose our position here. But don't have that hesitation. Just surrender, and Krishna will give you more than you can possibly imagine. The reward. But that requires faith. So therefore, the materialists, they're checked on that point. Just like you were speaking about this Hallmark people. They may give you so many advices how to be happy, but ultimately, because they don't have a clear idea about God, they can't advise you how to surrender to God. But that's the fullest happiness is attainable there. So therefore, what they're giving may be some valuable, temporary value, but it doesn't give you long-lasting result. It's finished when this body is finished. When you have to change the body, then that knowledge you learn in Hallmark won't go with you. You have to start again, a new chapter in life, pushed out of the womb. But if you learn the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita properly, then Krishna promises you don't come back again to the womb. So who's teaching that? Liberation, how to get free from the cycle of birth and death. So here it's explained what real liberation is. Green bird goes into a green tree. Okay, any comments? So sometimes people will wonder why we are challenging these impersonalists and so on. The real reason is because we feel that they offend the Lord, who we love. They slight Him because they think, indirectly they're saying that he can't walk, he's crippled, he can't see, he's blind, he has no qualities. So we don't like to hear that when the Lord is described in that way. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he himself says that the description of the impersonalist is like cutting his body. He has a spiritual, eternal body, and they're trying to say that Krishna's body is just material, like you and me. If you go deeply with the jnanis and the yogis, they don't believe that Krishna has an eternal spiritual body. So that's offensive to us, to the devotees. Just like if somebody denigrates your father, you're not happy to hear that he's being minimized, because you have some affection. So in the same way, we don't like to hear this philosophy where God is minimized and they want to imagine that they become God. So sometimes we use harsh words or strong words to check them, but that's out of love. So there's no fault there. Anyone else?
The purport, the last sentence. The last sentence in the purport sums up everything. It says, actual liberation is getting free from misconceptions of life. Powerful thing.
The sutra, everything is there in a short. But the misconceptions are just like your eyelid. You can't see them because it's so close. You can't, when you close your eye, you can't see your eyelid because it's too close. So the misconceptions are so intimately connected with us since time immemorial. We don't see them. Therefore, Guru is required. He'll tell us, yes, this is your foolishness. Therefore, Guru is central in our Vaishnava philosophy. Prabhupada said that that was his inspiration, that he was inspired to dedicate his life to the mission of his spiritual master. So we all have Srila Prabhupada as our spiritual master, the Shiksha Guru. We should dedicate ourselves to his mission. Then we can also be successful like Prabhupada was. This is the formula. It's not that just only Prabhupada can be perfect. That's the Christian idea. Only Christ is perfect, and we have to go on sinning. But no, Prabhupada wants us all to be perfect. We can be perfect. But it requires that faith, that instead of putting myself first, I have to put Srila Prabhupada's visions first. And I have to consider what's best for his vision. And then even if it's a little austerity there, a little painful, but that'll bring us to the greatest satisfaction in the long run. There's two words, Shreyas and Preyas. Immediate gratification and long-range well-being. So we want the long-range well-being. Just like the child. You have your two children. You tell them, okay, you have to study this. They may say, no, we want to watch television, we want to know. But you have to oblige them. No, this is for your good. So that when you grow older, you'll know how to read and write and so on. So same idea. Now we're coming to Krishna consciousness. If our philosophy is, I want to always just be happy immediately, then this Krishna consciousness might not be attractive. We have to take some trouble. But the results will be beyond our expectation. Okay, anyone else?
The impersonal conception is also inside of the Western society, not only the Maya bodies. The scientists are impersonalists. There are other religions, there are even some Christian sectors preach that God is just the energy.
Yeah.
So we all have that, not only a thing with Maya bodies in India, everybody, the whole world.
Nirvisesha Sunyavadi. Prabhupada means that the Western world especially is full of Mayavadi, impersonalism, Sunyavadi. Buddhists, they say everything is void. So why do we say, we don't like to hear that philosophy? Because it's insulting to God. God is a transcendental person, and you're saying he's zero. How can we be happy with that? Therefore, we say it's a contamination. Okay, anyone else? Same for repeating my values.
I was hearing last week that I got some email of a story of I think you've told this story before. One time, some devotees, they went someplace.
In Japan.
I guess in Japan.
Yeah.
Maybe if it's the same story. And there was
it's the same story.
And there was a noted Mayavadi sannyasi that was coming. So a couple of devotees went first before Prabhupada came, Subal and one other devotee, and they were making the arrangements with the temple authorities. So the temple authority was saying, we'll bring some chairs, Prabhupada can sit on the chair, but they noticed there was big Vyasa-san over in the side of the temple. So they said, well, no, Prabhupada can sit there. And he said, no, this is only for special occasion when we're reading a certain book. He said, no, Prabhupada is in the chair. So they were going around and around, and they quickly over to Vyasa-san. Prabhupada sat him on the Vyasa, and the temple authority was just kind of didn't know what was going on. They kind of took over. So then this other Mayavadi sannyasi, so they gave Prabhupada big rose garland, and then they gave the Mayavadi sannyasi a garland. So then the devotees were saying, wow, we only had this much money and he made 2 garlands? And he said, no, we gave him Prabhupada's prasadam garland from yesterday. So then Prabhupada spoke, and the whole right away just started blasting Mayavadis. And this sannyasi was just kind of sitting, kind of getting a little nervous, and he just boom, boom, he was hammering Mayavad philosophy for about 10-15 minutes, and then he stopped. So then the temple authority said, okay, now he can come, and he was motioning to Prabhupada to get off the Vyasa-san. And Prabhupada just looked the other way. And he wouldn't leave the Vyasa-san. So then they were kind of like, I didn't know what to do. So then they just brought the microphone, and the Mayavadi spoke from the chair. And he was speaking in Hindi, so the 2 devotees who were narrating the story didn't know what he was saying. So then after some time, they saw all of a sudden Prabhupada's eyes got really big, and he looked like fire was coming out of his eyes. And then Prabhupada looked, and he said, stop it! And they didn't know what to do, because there were all these people listening, and they were just kind of standing, they didn't know how to stop it. Then Prabhupada said again, stop him! And then they stood up, and then he said, Kirtan! So then they just started Kirtan while he was talking. And they had Kirtan. Obviously he was speaking some nonsense. So Prabhupada stopped him.
So I wasn't there at that thing, but I went back to that the next day or the next couple of days to meet the man who arranged that program, whose guru was that man who was there speaking. So when we met him, he said, No, no, I saw it. Your guru became angry. Therefore, he's not a real sadhu. So that's you see, that's what happens when you become impersonal. You don't know that even God gets angry sometimes. Look at Lord Nrsimha. He became so angry, he was roaring. Krishna had to be angry, otherwise how is he fighting with the different demons? But they think anything personal, emotional, it must be material. Because they want, their idea is like a sexless, seamless, merging into the oneness, and there's no more personality, no more qualities. But no, anger is also there in the Supreme. And it's there in the pure devotee. So this was a clear indication.
So it's described, Maharaj, that the difference is that the pure devotee uses the anger like a sword. He'll take it out, use the anger and put it back in dump. Now he's not, meaning that the anger isn't controlling him, he's controlling the anger to utilize and then put it away.
I saw that once in Prabhupada's room in the temple at Henry Street in Brooklyn. We were all coming in for the darshan. The artists were there, and everybody, you know, like about 20 people were sitting, and Prabhupada was talking to them. And then the servant came, something, and Prabhupada turned to the side, and he immediately got angry with the servant. Why you? And you know, real anger. And then he turned back to us with a smile. It's just like a laser, like a surgeon uses a scalpel, shoot, then came back and completely transcendental to it. But you're just using it, like you said. But when you were under that surgeon, under that scalpel, you felt it. You didn't think he's just, oh, it's just the anger, you know, it's not real anger. It would feel real. Srila Prabhupada ki, Bhagavad Gita ki.